What if the peace you've been chasing your whole life was never lost? Not in some hidden retreat, not at the top of a mountain, not in another person's approval or some future success, but right there inside you, waiting, quiet, buried under all the noise. This isn't just another story. Now this is the moment everything changed for a 24-year-old man named Marco, a man whose mind never stopped spinning, a man haunted by regrets he couldn't forget and fears that hadn't even happened yet. He didn't want much, just silence, a night of deep sleep, a moment without chaos in his head. But what he found wasn't a technique, wasn't a quote. It was a challenge. And it came from an old man who hadn't said a word. Yet, what happened next will make you question everything you believe about peace of mind. Marco was only 24, but his mind felt 100 years old. From the moment he opened his eyes to the moment he lay in bed at night, it never stopped. Thoughts, memories, what-ifs, regrets, fears, they came and went like waves in a storm, each one crashing harder than the last. One second, he was reliving something painful from years ago. The next, he was panicking about a future that hadn't even happened. And the worst part, couldn't escape any of it. No smile felt real anymore. No moment felt peaceful. His chest was tight. His nights were restless. Couldn't even remember the last time he truly laughed. To the outside world, he looked like just another young man. But inside, he was drowning. And every day he asked the same question: why can't I just stop thinking? He tried meditation, he tried walks, he tried ignoring it. But the thoughts always came back louder, darker, heavier, until one day, he heard something that gave him a flicker of hope. In a nearby town, people were talking. They spoke of an old man, someone who once lived in the chaos of the city, a man who had helped hundreds, a psychologist once celebrated, who had disappeared into the hills. Now, they said, he lived alone. In a quiet mountain village, no phone, no fame, no schedule, just nature, silence, peace. But sometimes if someone came with a sincere heart, he would offer them guidance. The rumors didn't promise miracles. They didn't say he had answers. But something in Marco stirred. Maybe, just maybe, this old man had found the silence Marco had been searching for. Maybe the reason he left the noise behind was because he finally understood how to live. Without it, for the first time in months, Marco felt a pulse of hope. Not loud, not dramatic, just enough. So he packed a small bag. No plan, no idea how far the village was, just a quiet prayer in his heart. Please, let him still be there. The journey took days. Winding roads, thick forests, chilly nights. But something kept him walking, because for the first time, the storm in his mind had a direction. The village was smaller than he expected. Houses made of stone, covered in moss. Children laughed in the distance. The air smelled of wood smoke and fresh grass. And then, Marco saw him. Sitting on a small porch, surrounded by greenery, was the old man. Eyes closed, spine straight, still as a mountain. He wasn't meditating, wasn't posing, just was. Marco stepped closer, hesitant, and spoke softly. Grandfather, my mind is full. It never stops. I can't sleep. I can't think clearly. I just want peace. Can you help me? The old man didn't respond immediately. Then slowly, he opened his eyes. And in them, Marco saw something hadn't seen in a long time: stillness. The old man gave a faint smile and said, "So, you are looking for peace?" Marco nodded. "Then come with me," he said. "No advice, no deep quotes, no complicated philosophy. Just a task." The old man led Marco to a small yard. He picked up a clear glass and filled it to the brim with water, not a drop below the edge. Then, handing it to Marco, he said, "Walk from here to the end of the village and back, but do not spill a single drop." Marco blinked. That's it? A task for a child? But something about the old man's eyes made him take it seriously. No shortcuts, no questions, just the journey. Glass in hand, hands trembling, Marco stepped forward. The village was alive. Children ran barefoot through the dust, chasing each. Other vendors shouted out their prices. Dogs barked. Wheels creaked. Voices clashed in the air like music without rhythm. But Marco didn't hear any of it. His eyes were locked on the glass. His fingers clutched it tightly, knuckles white. One wrong step, one sudden noise, and the water would spill. So he moved. Slowly, carefully, each step was measured. Each breath was steady. People stared. Some whispered, but no one interfered. They had seen this before. They knew. This wasn't just a walk. This was a mirror. Halfway through, his arms began to ache. The sun pressed down. Sweat slid down his back. But still lies on the water. Not once did he glance at the children playing or the loud merchant waving a cloth. He didn't respond to the barking dog that darted past him. There was no room in his mind for any of it. Only the water. Only the mission. And then he was back. Back in front of the house, the old man waited, watching silently. Marco exhaled. "I did it," he said. "I didn't spill a single drop." The old man smiled, but not with surprise. And what he asked next made Marco freeze. "That's good," he said, "but tell me, did you see the children laughing? Did you hear the dogs barking? Did you notice the wind in the trees?" Marco blinked. "No," he said slowly. "I didn't hear or see anything. I was only thinking about the water." The old man's eyes twinkled. "Exactly," he whispered. "And now you're ready to understand." For a moment, Marco stood in silence. He thought back. No. He hadn't noticed the children, the dogs, the smells, or the sounds. Not because they weren't there, but because his mind had been completely absorbed, locked onto one single task. And that's when the old man said something that would stay with Marco forever. That stillness you felt wasn't because the village became quiet. It's because you did. Marco stared at him. The old man continued gently. Your mind was no longer in the past, digging up regrets. It wasn't racing into the future, building fears that don't exist yet. It was here now, focused only on what mattered in that moment. And then he said it softly. But with the weight of a lifetime behind it, peace isn't something you search for outside yourself. It's what happens when you stop running and just be. Marco felt something shift inside. The storm didn't roar as loudly anymore. He hadn't meditated. He hadn't chanted. He hadn't escaped to a mountaintop. All he had done was pay attention, not to everything, but to one thing. This. With his whole mind, and in doing so, the noise had fallen away like leaves in the wind. The lesson wasn't about the water. It was about the power of presence. Something inside Marco went quiet. Not empty. It's not numb, just still. It was as if the glass he had been carrying wasn't just filled with water, it was a reflection of his mind. And for the first time in years, he'd seen what it was like to hold it steady. He sat beside the old man without saying a word. There was nothing to ask. No need to explain anything. He simply understood. All those years he spent searching for peace, trying to fix his past, control his future, silence the noise. It was never about doing more. It was about doing less, about being here, right here. He had spent his life in two places he could never touch. Yesterday, tomorrow. But in this moment, there was no sorrow, no fear, just breath, just now. He looked at the old man, eyes moistened from pain, but from relief, and whispered, "It was always inside me, wasn't it?" The old man smiled, nodded slowly, and said, "It always is." Most people just forget where to look. The sun was beginning to set. Golden light stretched across the mountains. Birds were flying back to their nests. And for the first time in years, Marco didn't feel like running. He didn't feel like hiding, didn't feel lost. Because now he knew how to be found. Marco stood up slowly. The old man didn't say goodbye. He didn't need to. Their conversation had already ended. The moment words became unnecessary. Marco walked down the same road he had come from, but he was no longer the same man. The weight on his chest, gone. The noise in his mind, quiet. The fear of what's next, smaller. Because now he knew something most people never learn. Peace isn't a destination. It's a decision. Not to escape the world, but to stop letting it drag you in every direction at once. Every moment is a glass of water, and you get to choose where your attention goes, to the noise or to the now. As Marco disappeared into the trees, the sky burned orange with the last light of day. He had no map, no plan, but for the first time in a long time, he was home, not outside, but within. If you felt something in this story, that little pause in your thoughts, that tiny silence between the sentences, that's the doorway. Don't ignore it. If this story gave you peace, give it a like. Share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more soul-touching stories. Until next time, stay present, stay peaceful. And remember, sometimes the quietest moments speak the loudest.